Good evening. My name is Ashwin Berry and it's time for Sunset News. Sit back, relax and spend the next 30 minutes with us. We'll bring you the latest in news, economics, weather and sport. Now, in our first news story for today, Sabin Kashiwanjo sits in a wheelchair and talks about how he and many other Namibians living with a disability of some kind, but what often holds them back from leading full lives isn't their disability, it's the discrimination they face. Kashiwanjo says disability is not any form of punishment, as many see it, but it is a gift for the world. Kashiwanjo works at the Omaheke Regional Division of Gender Equality, Poverty Eradication and Social Welfare. He said disability is not any form of sickness. He was motivating people living with disabilities at Oshakati State Hospital on Wednesday in the company of Oshana Governor Elia Irimari. Irimari held a day dedicated to breaking down disability stereotypes and forcing all Namibians to re-examine their prejudices. Now, a directive that local authorities must provide free water to vulnerable members of society has left them saddled with crippling debt, the Namibia Association of Local Authorities offices said. Its president, Moses Matiagi, says the directive has left local authorities having to bear the biggest burden of paying NamWater, as the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development paid only for the first 3 months of the COVID-19 state of emergency. The situation heightened levels of concern as municipalities, town and village councils accumulated necessary debts as a result of a government directive to make water accessible to residents. Local authorities incurred humongous costs in the process of trading the commodity without being subsidized, since this was a government directive, Matiayi said. Keetmanshoop, capital of the Karas region, struck dry yesterday due to a series of pipe bursts occurring in the line between the town and the Nalte Dam. This morning, there was still too much mud and debris in the water to open the town's taps. The supply was expected to be clean by 2 o'clock this afternoon, but residents were warned that it still could take a further 12 hours to fill up the reservoirs. Now, the Sandpiper Marine Phosphate Project has conducted a first public meeting and is approaching the Namibian public with a view towards conducting public hearings and convincing the public at large that the mining of phosphate off Walvish Bay will not lead to environmental damage, as has been alleged repeatedly. During their first public meeting in Windhoek on Wednesday evening, an event that was led by the firm Environmental Compliance Consultancy, Mike Woodburn, the chairman of Namibia Marine Phosphate, and project manager Chris Jordanson, clearly subscribed to transparency and gave a full background. They reviewed the roads that led NMP to now trying for the second time to be awarded an environmental clearance certificate so as to be allowed to mine offshore in Namibian waters for phosphate. The prosecution and Attorney General Martha Imalwa claim that Ricardo Gustavo has the financial means to leave Namibia. The reason, they say, is that some of his co-defendants in the Fishrot trial are still at large and could help him escape. Attorney General Martha Imalwa has filed an appeal against the decision of Chief Justice Herman Oosthuizen at the Supreme Court in Windhoek. Oosthuizen had granted bail to Gustavo on December 15 for an amount of 800,000 Namibian dollars and 16 specific bail conditions. Gustavo testified during his bail application that he knew nothing about Tundavala Investment CC in a testimony heard before the court last week. Now, the prosecution presented evidence in which Gustavo had done business with or for Tundavala, a company owned by co-accused James Hatuikulipi. The appeal is to be heard in the Supreme Court in March. Now, 7 young men accused of committing at least 2 armed robberies targeting business people who went to deposit money at banks in Windhoek's popular Marua Mall appeared before Magistrate Desire Kambowa in Windhoek today. Prosecutor Tatelo Lusepani opposed bail on behalf of the state, arguing that all 7 already have to appear in connection with other ongoing court cases for similar offenses. He also stated that the accused may interfere with the investigation and that letting them go would not be in the interest of the public or administration of justice. The case was postponed to the 20th of May. Now, make sure you get your newspaper tomorrow and read all these stories. Stick around. Just now, Community Talk. Thank you for staying with Sunset News. Let's get into your community talk. Economic advisor to the president, James Mnyupe, was a guest speaker at a school fundraiser in Walvish Bay, where he shared how poverty can be alleviated. Leandra Lowe from our Irongo office was there.
Namibia has some of the best social safety nets across the continent. That's not going to fix poverty, because that anyway drains the fiscus. So the only way we get rid of poverty is we do need to create jobs. We do need to attract income that we don't currently have. And then if we're super smart, for example, say we're talking about the synthetic fuel thing or anything else of that matter, instead of just selling uranium, gold, meat, fish, can we start investing in the patents for doing that stuff? I know, in this sector, you started doing value addition, packaging the hay, stuff like that. With some of these industries, we can actually start designing some of the components here because we're going to be such a big player. So we could actually ask some of the OEMs to start manufacturing electrolyzers in Namibia. That's the only way you get rid of poverty, right? By creating more jobs, velocity of income, and then beginning to capture a greater value chain, or a greater portion of the value chain, than just being an exporter of minerals and stuff like that. There's no sort of magic wand for fixing this one. And I think the one last thing I will say about poverty, if you look at how hard people hustle in Nigeria, India, Kenya, I think in Namibia, we're really kind of fairly spoiled and sheltered. There's no substitute for hard work, eh? And there's no substitute for collaboration. So again, government's hands are tied. The way we do this is we work together. So today, when I met these guys, I'm gonna connect them, for example, to CMB from Belgium. And CMB is beginning to work with Namport. And Namport is then, with CMB, beginning to work with Transnamib. And Transnamib, I'm going to connect them to Imperial Logistics, that's a South African company, but actually has offices here in Etosha. So as an economic advisor, right, I don't have like a ministry and a budget, but I can network Namibian companies and international companies to bring that whole cycle of investment, multiplier effect, job creation. That's what I can do to kill poverty. So what can you do?
All right, now banks and the Namibian police continue to warn the unsuspecting public with regards to e-wallet fraud. Here, FNB's communications manager, Alzita Bierkas, reiterates vigilance.
A new scam has emerged where fraudsters access and manage customers' e-wallet accounts on the FNB app. We have seen this new scam making the rounds and urge our customers to take note of how it works to protect themselves. We'd like to tell our customers that the OTP is sufficient control as it seeks authorization of the account or the wallet holder. As with any PIN or password, do not give your OTP to anyone, as this step is crucial to protecting your funds. If anyone calls you claiming to be from the bank and asks you for your OTP or PIN or password of any kind, hang up the phone immediately and report the incident to the bank. We reiterate again that FNB will never request any security information from you over the phone, and you in turn should never give out any information over the phone. Please remain vigilant in this time and protect your hard-earned cash.
Stay safe out there. That brings us to the end of our community talk. Now, the president of Namibia has done some traveling. We'll be talking about that in our story of the day after this.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in 1 bundle. It's new, it's 1 bill, and you can stay connected in more than 1 location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Now, the president of Namibia left to attend a summit in Antwerp, followed by the African Union-European Union summit in Brussels. Yolanda now has more in our story of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Yolanda Nel. President Hage Geingob left on Thursday to participate in the first edition of the One Ocean Summit and the 6th African Union-European Summit, alongside a select group of 20 heads of states and government. The One Ocean Summit aims to mobilize the international community to take tangible action towards preserving and supporting a healthy and sustainable ocean. As a country with a coastline that stretches over 1,500 kilometers and one that depends heavily on the blue economy and marine resources, Namibia has an obligation to act and protect the ocean and ensure sustainability for current and future generations. Namibia has made significant progress in putting up efforts to raise awareness on the importance of sustainable development of the blue economy and is in her last stage of developing a sustainable blue economy policy. The objectives of the policy are to effectively protect, maintain and restore the diversity, productivity and resilience of Namibia's marine and aquatic ecosystems. Geingob will deliver a statement outlining Namibia's vision of global governance of the oceans. He will undertake a number of engagements with heads of state and government and visit Europe's second largest seaport, the Port of Antwerp, following which an addendum to the existing Memorandum of Understanding on Energy and Green Hydrogen between Namibia and Belgium is anticipated to be signed. Within the framework of Namibia's economic and energy diplomacy for investment attraction and job creation, President Geingob has been requested to serve as chair of the Africa Renewable Energy Initiative. The President will also undertake a guided tour of the world's first refueling station that produces green hydrogen, as well as the Antwerp World Diamond Center.
Thank you, Yolanda. Now, fuel hikes are making the production and transportation of agricultural products much more difficult. Stick around for that in our economic news after the break.
Swiping or tapping your FNB Visa card is the safest, easiest, most rewarding way to transact. Because if you swipe your FNB Visa debit or credit card 3 times a month, you'll automatically be entered into the draw to win your share of a mammoth 250,000 Namibian dollars. Competition ends 15 February 2022. T's, C's and rules apply. Switch to FNB, Bank of the Changeables.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's get straight into your economic news. Fuel, an essential input in the production and transportation of agricultural products, continues to increase, putting more pressure on both producers and consumers. According to the Agricultural Bank of Namibia, continuous increases in petrol prices have a ripple effect on logistics, particularly farmers who regularly transport agricultural products such as animals to auctions and vice versa. It further increases in petrol prices have a negative impact on the cost of production, resulting in final price inflation pressure on the end consumer. Although high prices might be beneficial to selling farmers, the net return on investment is affected by the high input costs. Now, Greg's Motor Spares, a Windhoek-based company with branches countrywide, has agreed to pay the Namibian Competition Commission a total of 1.25 million Namibian dollars in penalties and costs for anti-competitive behavior. NACC investigated Greg's Motor Spares and found it entered into exclusive agreements which affords preferential rights, sole distribution rights, waiving of excess fees and rebates. As such, the company contravened Section 23 of the Competition Act. Greg's Motor Spares admitted that its conduct constituted an unintended contravention of the Act. Let's get into your economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is still strengthening against the major currencies with the exception of the Chinese yuan. Now on the NSX, Capricorn Investments is the only stock that moved 0.9 points up. The local index is up with 0.11% and the overall index is up with 0.13%. All commodities are up with gold increasing with 2.85%. This is Sunset News. Stick around for your weather after the break. Thank you for staying with Sunset News. Let's get into your weather story. Travelers have been warned not to use the C28 and the C35 roads, as well as the D1980 in the Khomas Hockland west of Windhoek because of serious flood damage to these roads. These routes are only accessible with 4x4 vehicles. Let's look at what you can expect in the weather. Widespread rain is still predicted for the northern half of Namibia, with the capital on 17 and 27 degrees. In the western and southern parts of the country, more sunshine is predicted. Ariansvlei stays the hottest and will reach 40 degrees tomorrow. Now stick around for international news as we look at the attempted assassination of the Libyan Prime Minister. Now in your international news, footage released by Libyan Prime Minister Abdul Hamid al-Beba's office showed bullet holes on the roof of his car and in the headlights after he escaped an assassination attempt in the early hours of this morning. Assailants struck his car with bullets early on Thursday, but he escaped unharmed, a government source close to him said. The source said the incident happened as Beba was returning home, describing it as a clear assassination attempt, adding that the attackers fled and the incident has been referred for investigation. If confirmed, an attempt to assassinate Beba could aggravate the crisis over control of Libya. after he said he will ignore a vote scheduled by the Eastern-based parliament later on today to replace him. Armed forces have mobilized more fighters and equipment in the capital over recent weeks, raising fears the political crisis could trigger infighting. Libya has had little peace or stability since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising against Muammar Gaddafi, and it split in 2014 between warring factions in the east and the west. All right, stick around for your sports after the break.
You're the apple of my eye, yeah. Need the sweetness to survive, yeah. Your tequila with the light, yeah. And you make me wanna stay.
Thank you for staying with Sunset News. It's time for your sport, and we start off in the world of cricket. Two Namibian Eagles players won 2 awards at the ESPN Cricinfo Annual Awards for 2021. Gerard Erasmus was rewarded for the best batting innings by a player from an ICC associate member country, and left-arm pace bowler Ruben Trompoman's destruction of Scotland's top 3 batsmen within the first over of their World Cup Super 12 match impressed the judges most, giving them the well-deserved award. Now, clubs campaigning in the MTC Netball Premier League welcomed the Fast 5 Cup, a pre-season tournament slated for next week at Trusco United Sports Ground in Windhoek. Netball Namibia announced that 12 NPL clubs will take part in the season-opening Fast 5 Cup. Now, Driekus Coetzee is back in action on Sunday at the Nedbank Cycle Challenge. The cyclist reigned supreme at the Nedbank National Cycling Road Race Championship on Sunday, retaining his national title in style. Driekus won the race in 4 hours, 2 minutes and 16 seconds. It's been an incredible 30 minutes on Sunset News, but do stick around. Your highlights after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
Thank you for staying with Sunset News. These are your highlights. As announced, the Sandpiper Marine Phosphate Project has conducted a first public meeting and is approaching the Namibian public with a view towards conducting public hearings and convincing the public at large that the mining of phosphate off Walvish Bay will not lead to environmental damage, as has been alleged repeatedly. Now, the prosecution and Attorney General Martha Imalwa claims that Ricardo Gustavo has the financial means to leave Namibia. The reason, they say, is that some of his co-defendants in the Fishrod trial are still at large and could help him escape. Attorney General Martha Imalwa has filed an appeal against the decision of Chief Justice Herman Oosthuizen at the Supreme Court in Windhoek. The appeal is to be heard in the Supreme Court in March. Keetmanshoop, capital of the Qaras region, struck dry yesterday due to a series of pipe bursts occurring in the line between the town and the Nalte Dam. The supply was expected to be cleaned by 2 o'clock this afternoon, but residents were warned that it still could take a further 12 hours to fill up reservoirs. Thank you very much for staying with Sunset News over the last 30 minutes. Make sure you catch us tomorrow, same time at 7:30. And do make sure you check us out on all NMH platforms on Facebook, oneup2.com, DSTV channel 285, GoTV channel 94. Sunset News, please don't end your day without us.